And Washington's favored by 9, though, in this game at home against Tommy DeVito and the Giants. DeVito actually missed some practice reps yesterday.
Who's next up?
Barkley.
Barkley?
Matt Barkley.
Okay. Right, rather than Saquon.
Not Saquon. Could have a Barkley and Barkley backfield here. We'll see what happens with practice today. We don't have the practice reports yet. But either way, the Giants are not looking good as a football team this year.
Yeah. Barkley, well, that would be like a law firm, right? Barkley and Barkley?
Barkley and Barkley, yeah. Anytime you put 2 or 3 names together, you say it's
three names usually a law firm, but sometimes like Johnson & Johnson is a pharmaceutical company, right?
True.
They could be anything, but Barkley and Barkley actually sounds like a law firm rather than anything else that it might be.
Like Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
That's a law firm.
Who was called
right.
the law firm.
Yeah.
That was his nickname.
Anyway.
What are we looking for in this one? Of course, Sam Howell, a guy we like to talk about every single week.
Yeah, and in fact, 10 minutes ago, before the stream died.
We did have this conversation 10 minutes ago before the stream died, and it didn't record, so we're going to have it again. Sam Howell playing a little better football these last few weeks.
I love watching Sam Howell. I think he's one of the most fun quarterbacks in the NFL, and unlike some of the previous fun quarterbacks in the NFL, he's actually good as well. He leads the NFL in big-time throw rate. Even if you look at big-time throws. If you look at big-time throw rate, because obviously he's passed a lot, he's still, I think, 7th, was it? Top 10 anyway. He doesn't turn the ball over that much. And the thing that was his biggest flaw, the sacks, he is a sack magnet. He's getting better at that. It's not good, but he's no longer like the most atrocious sack attractive force the game has ever known, right? We're moving in the right direction there. So if that part continues to move in his direction and improve, everything else about his game I think is fun to watch and stays constant, stays good even when he's in tough situations, right? When they're in hurry-up offense or no huddle or they've got to pass, they're in must-have-it type situations. That's when he plays some of his best football. So huge credit to Howell himself. Huge credit to Ron Rivera for saying this guy's going to be our quarterback, even when it looked crazy. And huge credit to Eric Bieniemy for crafting the offense around him.
On the other side, I think any given week with the Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau had a really big game against Washington last time around. Any given week, Dexter Lawrence can go off and kind of explode opposing offensive game plans. The Giants, they got destroyed by the Cowboys last week on both sides of the ball. We kind of expected it on the offensive side, but on the Giants' defense, they've been kind of hit or miss this year, but they're tough to peg because the blitz-heavy scheme, the volatility, having a Dexter Lawrence in the middle, Dexter Lawrence being one of one as a nose tackle that can implode opposing passing games. You just never know when that's going to show up. But this does look, there's a reason why the Commanders are favored by 9 here. And I think most of it is going to be because Tommy DeVito behind that Giants offensive line, there's not much to do there.
No. The Dexter Lawrence thing is like critics of Dexter Lawrence, of which there are still some, have pointed out that a huge volume of his production this year has come against very bad players, even if he was part of the reason the very bad players are on the field in the first place. Washington has some not very good players on the interior of that offensive line, so it is a spot where Dexter Lawrence could absolutely go nuts, dominate. Last time against Washington, he had 8 pressures, which is his second highest figure of the season. So it's the kind of game where Dexter Lawrence could show up and, single-handedly ruin the game for you if you're Washington. But basically, outside of that, that's the only way they don't win this game fairly comfortably, right, is if Dexter Lawrence just goes nuts and crushes the line of scrimmage.
If you are a Giants fan, you're just looking for any kind of signs of life here. Right, you're 2-8. They're on a collision course with the Patriots the following week. You don't want to look ahead to the 2-8 versus 2-8 battle against the Patriots the following week with a potential.
Because it would depress you.
I'm just saying, you have a potential, number 1 or 2 draft pick on the line when you play New England in a couple weeks. You don't want to look ahead if you're the Giants. But yeah, it's interesting times for both coaching staffs too. The Giants, have they lost all of the goodwill that they built up? Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, in that front office? Have they lost all the goodwill of year one with how bad it's been this year? And then is Ron Rivera just a lame duck coach because you've got new ownership ready to turn the whole thing over and get his people in there? So yeah, storyline wise, that's what's on the line, I think, in this game. Ron Rivera kind of trying to, both coaching staffs, I think, maybe playing for their jobs or just playing for a little more credibility within that front office.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants are in a tough spot because obviously they've run out of quarterbacks. They're playing Tommy DeVito, if not Barkley and Barkley. So they're just trying to survive, right? Just get to the next game, just try and not be embarrassed basically week upon week. Washington are in a slightly different spot. They haven't been bad, and they've lost a couple of really close games or heartbreakers that, like, they could be in playoff contention, but they're not because of, a couple of games here or there where they've actually been really close. So, it's the type of game I think that Washington should be winning fairly comfortably, but they have shot themselves in the foot a few times this year.
All right, man. 9 points for Washington. Where are you going here?
9 is a lot, even with Tommy DeVito as the quarterback. I think the Giants will lose, but I think they might keep it closer than 9.
All right, give me the Commanders to cover. DeVito showed a little bit of life last week, but
yeah, he hasn't been terrible.
Yeah,
like it's a totally terrible situation. Like arguably the worst offensive line in the NFL. Not much in terms of receiver help. Nothing's there, right? And yet he hasn't looked like the worst quarterback in the NFL.